All right, now let's go to the word today. Such an amazing, glorious... Oh, look at these wonderful pictures. We showed you, last week from Korea, and the brothers and sisters welcoming Pence and getting out there and demonstrating for the nation. Now, you heard that every week now they're going out there doing demonstrations for the nation, for their freedom of the nation. And they're putting us right up in the front of those demonstrations all the time. Now they know our organization. Even in Korea now, they're starting to mention some of the key, slogans that we've made on the media and things like that. So people are starting to hear that message. Now, similarly in Japan, throughout different regions of Japan, all our sanctuary members in Japan are also getting mobilized and doing demonstrations on the street. Now, in Japan, there's a lot more regulation. So you have if you're doing something in front of this or that building, you only can be two people at a time. so they have to rotate out. Two people come in, they do then an hour later, the two people more. So sometimes it doesn't look like a lot of people there, but that's not because there's not people that want to go there. They have all these tremendous amount of restrictions, even way more than Korea. Anybody who knows Japan, you know it's a very highly regulated society. So, but there are brothers and sisters here in Kumamoto. That's on the 15th, 16th, 18th. There we go. They're the only ones out there warning about, Japan's situation, that they have to be wary of China and encroachment, that they should support America. And also, so the Japan-America alliance, and in some places Japan-Korea American alliance, movements are now starting to be held, and they're reaching out to people. People are stopping on the street who agree with that, not only take their pamphlets, but then they start distributing pamphlets for them too, as well. So we're seeing that kind of thing now happen in Japan. As you can see the flags here, right? So the Japan and America, must stand united. Also, from the 14th to 20th of April 2017, Japan held welcoming delegations to Vice President Pence for the nation. Again, see, only our people are the ones doing these conditions are getting out there. They're not just praying in a room. They're getting out there and doing these conditions for the nation. Do you understand? And, our brothers and sisters in Korea, our brothers and sisters in Japan, they're the only ones out there, the only ones politically awake. It's ridiculous. It's absurd that the conservative movements and the right-leaning movements there are so, brain dead. But we are grateful that at least somebody is setting the spiritual condition, because we know this is not only a physical reality. There's also a spiritual world that's there, and they need to be animated through people on earth who are actuating those things. Okay, so here they are in Kumamoto, handing out flyers. There we go, to passersby. There are some brothers and sisters in Tokushima, some young people from Korea actually who have left South Korea with their families or something like that, I believe, and they're now relocating into Japan because the war situation is escalating. Okay, the potential for danger, of course, is escalating on the peninsula. Here you go. They are here in, what was this, Tokushima? This was Tokushima. And so our brothers and sisters are out there. What a contrast. Family Fed was also, I guess, on that street somewhere. And they were out there trying to witness to people about, who knows what, only begotten daughter or goddess worship, whatever the heck they're doing. But it was only our people out there trying to declare to the nation, hey, nation, wake up. We cannot go left. We have to stay with, our alliance. We have to strengthen our alliance. We have to support our president, Abe, who is really trying to work close with Trump, etc. They're the only ones out there doing these demonstrations. And people, as you can see, where is that? There's a grand, I can't remember if it was in Tokushima. But anyways, sometimes they get people come out, thank them. Sometimes they get commies that they said they get a kulbam. In America, you're going to consider that assault. But like a more senior person comes in here, smacks you on the head. Say, what are you doing? You don't, like this. In America, you would consider that assault because you're doing a demonstration. Somebody comes, hit you. That would be considered assault. But in Asia, where there's a lot of hierarchy, I guess still Japan has that. You can still smack younger kids in the head. Okay, but that's what's happening. Sometimes that happens. But our brothers and sisters out there, again, there's all these regulations. They can only stand like two people at one time, and they can't have banners. They can't have big horizontal plankers or something like that. So I guess they can only have little flags. Okay, so there's all sorts of regulations that they're trying to get around, but nonetheless, they're out there trying to stand for the Japanese-American alliance and Korea as well. The brothers and sisters are in Osaka. Is that Osaka? Is that right? That's the U.S. consulate right here, okay. Or in front of on the other side of the street. Also in Nagoya, our brothers and sisters there. See, now they're going Japan, Korea, and U.S. alliance. And of course, we're not telling them to do that. They can organize their flags and banners how they want, but they understand the spirit of where Providence is moving, right? Because we're all connected by faith, not necessarily by hierarchical organization, right? Some of our sanctuary leaders create hierarchical organizations for those who want to be in those types of organizations. You're free to do so. But others create not hierarchical, okay? So some people just are very beholden to their Catholic roots, So they just want the Catholic style. So for those who love that style, they have hierarchical churches and ministries that still support the second king and and the three kingships. Okay. So we don't discriminate, but again, all of them will defer to me on theological matters. Okay, so they can't just make up new theologies for that. They have clear things they have to do. They have to accept Father as Messiah, etc. Three kingships, etc. Things like that. But articles of faith, not organization. Okay, there's Nagoya again, and there it is. There's the Japan flag with the American flag. Oh, again, only our brothers and sisters out there doing these kind of rallies, trying to stand up for their nation, trying to do some type of spiritual condition, It's almost like, it's like almost those prophets they would go before all of, Israel when they're becoming pagan or when they're becoming, or in Egypt or in Babylon. And they would warn them. And that was just one person. The prophet many times was just one person, right? We are more than one person, but they're out there. The point is that they're out there trying to awaken the people. Okay, so that is a very important condition in these last of days. There's also Tokyo here. This is in front of, is this the Tokyo U.S. Embassy? Okay. And here, of course, you can see a lot more people. This is them welcoming Pence here with the flags and everything. And they actually bumped into quite a famous Japanese missionary family who is a minister. And the pastor joined the rally and also was, waving the flags, etc. And he was just so surprised to see, wow, look at all these Japanese people like supporting, Trump and Abe. He was very shocked. And he kind of tipped off the other brothers and sisters to where Trump would be going next, to some baseball game or something like that. And so they were there and they were able to see Trump wave to them and everything. I'm sorry, Pence wave to them, etc. At some point, the minister did have dinner with them or lunch with them or something, and he said, "Are you guys affiliated with the Unification Church?" Something like that. Okay. And but they had a nice drive back. He said they drove him back and had a nice conversation, etc. And I'm sure he was grateful, even though he may not theologically agree with what we are saying. He agrees with the spirit and is grateful, I think, for the Japanese citizens standing up to support this alliance. There we go again on Tokyo, and also media was out that day. This is the Prime Minister's residence, and here they are. They actually took a picture in front of the Prime Minister's residence, which is illegal. It's illegal, but the police let them do it. Okay. The police let them do it because they were like Western reporters there, and it's the first time now that our Japanese members are getting, international, articles now starting to be written about them. Okay. So again, it is sanctuary brothers and sisters who are standing up and awake, living with three kingships and true Father Messiah in the Spirit, who are out there fighting for the stability of the world. They're the only ones. There's nobody else out there. So we are proud of them, and we salute them, and we are grateful for what they're doing out there in Japan as well. Here we go. This is Tokyo, and this is the baseball game. There he is. There's Pence, and I don't know if you can see there, but he's waving out of his window, leaning forward, waving at the, there he is. See that little hand there? He's out there waving, a sign of gratitude to our brothers and sisters out there, supporting the U.S. and Japanese alliance. So we're grateful, and I'm sure that the Trump administration is hearing about all these demonstrations all over Asia. They only have the largest surveillance grid in the world. So let's now go to our word, kingdom immortality. Let's go to our scripture today. This is the last verse, kingdom verse in the first letter to the Corinthians, from verse 47 through 54. Let's trump. For the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible, and we shall be changed. For this corruptible must put on incorruption, and this mortal must put on immortality. So when this corruptible shall have put on incorruption, and this mortal shall have put on immortality, then shall be brought to pass the saying that is written, death is swallowed up in victory. Amen. Wow. There we go. Such a powerful scripture. Of course, remember, we have to have this in context. When we look at something in scripture, we have to also relate it to other parts of scripture. And of course, Jesus said, pray every day. We mention it here all the time, but a lot of Christians don't do it. Pray every day, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So we know that even though he was from the heavens, Jesus desired to build the earthly kingdom. Now, Paul does say correctly that flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of God because why? The flesh and blood has been corrupted by Satan from the fall. Of course, we see that through the principle. We know that through the principle. The flesh and blood has been corrupted. The lineage has been corrupted from the beginning. So, it is not that flesh and blood that can inherit the kingdom. For that flesh and blood that comes from Satan continues to inherit what? Corruptible kingdoms. Evil kingdoms, right? Mortal kingdoms, etc. But it is those who are with Christ at the end who inherit the body of incorruptibility and the body of immortality, folks. The body of immortality. What is that? We see that not only in the 3-day ceremony, we not only see that in putting on Christ, we put on the body of immortality. That is the blessing. You're putting on the body of immortality, and through now the lineage of God, you live forever. You do not disappear. You live on and on through your descendants forever and ever. And as God's kingdom comes, we will be able to reside with our descendants. Father called it the transcending of the spirit and physical worlds. The transcending of the spirit and physical worlds. That there will also be a headquarters of that, of course, which is each individual there who is united with Christ and holds the unity and lineage of God. So it is not the corruptible, it is not the Satan, the satanic, it is not the false flesh and blood that shall inherit God's kingdom, but it shall be the body of Christ, the brides of Christ. It shall be the kingdom of God and its people that shall inherit the earth, that shall have dominion, as promised to Adam from the beginning of time. Now, I want to go into, now understanding that, when we look at the world, we do see the body of corruption. We do see the body of mortality. We do see the body of death and destruction. We do see the body of lifelessness and separation from God. And of course, today, this is top news on Drudge, is of course today by 2 p.m. Eastern, is that correct? 2 p.m. Eastern will be the first round of elections for France. And of course, we've been praying for France as well. It will be over, and so the results will be out by the time this service is probably done. Maybe a little after. But where will France decide to go? France has been given many of the gifts that all the Christendom and millions of people have fought for throughout the generations. Their ancestors have handed them down this gift of freedom, this gift of sovereignty, this gift of women's rights, this gift of reason, this gift of borders that kept out marauding invaders. That's a gift, right? They've been given all these things, and this generation is literally pooing it away, just throwing it to the wind, right? It is not theirs to destroy, because centuries and centuries and hundreds of years of battles and wars and conquest and being conquered and being raped and being pillaged, all these things have led to what they have today, which is freedom. And Stefan Molyneux did a great piece on this just recently, but he talked about, look, it's not even like you have to be brave in the West. You don't have to fight off the marauding Mongols. You don't have to fight off the marauding caliphate and the radical Muslims who are pushing through all the way towards Vienna. Well, now they have to. now they're dealing with that. But you don't even have to physically go fight them. All you have to do is get your butt up in the morning and go to the election poll and check a stupid box. That's all you have to do to save your country and save your civilization. That's how pathetic it is. All you have to do is get your lazy ashtray up and walk to the freaking polls and check the dang box. That's all you have to do. So it's not even something great. I mean, it's like what all these previous Christians fought for the Enlightenment era and the age of seeing God through reason, the age of science, and all the major branches of science were founded by fervent believers in God, either sometimes priests, or ministers, devout believers in God, because there's a whole realm of theology called natural theology that explores nature through reason and observation to find about the painter. That's called natural theology. So that whole tradition exists within Christendom. And so all those Renaissance breakthroughs and Enlightenment breakthroughs, of course, they want to be painted in a secular light, but many of those breakthroughs, the majority of the breakthroughs, of course, coming from Christian peoples trying to understand God. Many of them sometimes trying to break away from the Catholic establishment that had become a state-run Christian church, which is not really Christianity. It's a state-run government operation. So France is now in the death throes of its existence, now having last week, just a couple of days ago, having another terrorist radical Muslim terrorist attack in Paris. Again, the Champs-Élysées. Do you see that? Right on the street, near the Arc of Triumph there. And so they will be voting first round this day, today, and then voting for the second round in early May. I think May 7th is the date. Okay, if necessary. So the main two candidates will be selected today, and then there will be a runoff between those two candidates on May 7th. Again, this is another huge blow to the communist European Union. It was sold that they're going to unite all of Europe. All they did was rob and rape and pillage economically Europe. And of course, with the new cultural enrichment, literally are destroying European civilization. Every civilization, folks, needs a border. So it needs a territory. There's a defined border. There's also a defined language. You need a language because you need to talk to people in that civilization. You have to have common language. And you also have to have common culture. Okay? I would go so far as to say it also is critical which book you're reading. Every civilization is built on a book. Every single one. The atheists say, no, we're not built on a book. Yes, you are. You're built on Darwinian evolution, books on Darwinian evolution. You are built on postmodern thought and philosophy, Bertrand Russell and Nietzsche. You are built on that. Every civilization is built on a book. And what book you read changes the nature of that civilization. If the book, the Bible, even the Old Testament, if it has no New Testament, it's a very different book. It is. It's a different book when it's not contextualized through the eyes of Christ and through the life of Christ. Okay, and then you compare the book of the Holy Bible compared to the Quran. That's a totally different civilization. I mean, even the unit of society is different. The unit, the fundamental unit, is not husband and wife. It's husband, wife, 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 wife. And you can divorce and you can, essentially have, well, you can have sex slaves, but you essentially also have legalized prostitution. And this is what happens on the road to Mecca, where you legally marry a prostitute, you have sex with her, and then after you're done, you legally divorce her. Okay? So even the social unit of that civilization is different. It's fundamentally different how you see women. I can own 4 of them in that civilization then. You see what I'm saying? As opposed to the biblical tradition, as contextualized to Christ, because yes, some of the old prophets had multiple wives. But Jesus said very clearly, God made them, he was talking to Pharisees, do you not know that God made them in the beginning, man and woman, to cleave to one another, leave their parents, to cleave to one another, to be husband and wife. So Jesus made it very clear what was the ideal. Okay? Through the course of restoration, yes, sometimes we have the, what is it called? There's a theological word for it. No. Suspension of boy, I can't remember that one word. It escapes my mind. That's what happens when you shaved yesterday, and sometimes your memory goes with it. Daggone it. Teleological suspension of the ethical. That's what it's called, okay? That's what it's called, okay? It's sometimes in providence, you have the teleological suspension of the ethical, and you have things that appear unethical, but God has to do them, for example, like conquering Canaan, because that civilization is mutually exclusive to God's kingdom. We were talking about it this morning. There are some cultures which are mutually exclusive. They can't exist. They can't coexist together. Like what's happening in Europe. See, they're starting to realize, oh, some cultures are mutually exclusive. They're like oil and vinegar. They cannot live together without massive conflict and warfare. Some civilizations cannot live together. That's just how it is. But they are on a massive battle today. Everybody's praying for Michel Bouvet. We had him on the King's Board this week, and our French brothers and sisters out there in Europe as well. We're praying for you all, and we hope that the people of France understand what their ancestors had to pay for them to live in this kind of luxury and prosperity, and just they become so spoiled and brain dead and secular. They have no spiritual power to stand up against these radical invaders. Now, it's not all those people coming from these areas which are radical, but there is a percentage, which of course are finding great success in terrorizing Europe. Within 4 weeks, folks, 4 weeks, we've already had 4 terrorist attacks in Europe in less than 4 weeks. It's now a common occurrence in Europe to have Islamic jihadist terrorist attacks. Do you really want America to become like that? Thank God Trump is in compared to Hillary Clinton, because she wanted to make this nation like that. She wanted Pennsylvania to be like Europe. She wanted Texas to be like Europe. She wanted a terrorist attack. Literally, these leftist commies wanted terrorist attacks on the U.S. soil like it's happening in Europe. Because why? Look what happens in Europe whenever those terrorist attacks happen. Do they say, okay, citizens, maybe you should be armed? Because some crazy man may jump out and shoot into a crowd with an AK-47. Maybe some of you need to be armed. Hey, maybe we'll start with those who have military, background. Hey, let's just start with them first, okay? Maybe some of you are going to carry. No, they never do that. They always say, oh, you see that? You see that? We need more gun control laws, more stringent gun. We need more disarmed citizens. So you can literally flop around as you're being shot up, becoming completely holy by the AK-47 wielding Allahu Akbar. This is ridiculous. Okay, this is absurd. Ridiculous. But that is what Europe is becoming. The Frenchmen used to fight in battle. Napoleon conquered what? All of Europe. I mean, they were real warriors out there in France. They're not just artis and little vin and wine. These guys were fighters. These guys were real warriors. They've just lost it. They've just been emasculated, they've been castrated. By design, of course, because you have to wage war on masculinity. You have to wage war on the father and get rid of it to take it over, right? And to, of course, bring in the archangelic culture of dishonorable, corrupt, wicked, predator government, quote, fathers that will rule and reign over you. So we are praying for Europe as well. Now, there is some major news in North Korea, and this is important for us to understand, because we have to understand, even in North Korea, people don't understand it. Yes, there's a political situation. There's a spiritual battle there, folks. There's a real spiritual shift that has happened. Ever since the Han Mother failed in Korea, remember she proclaimed everything would get better. Okay? Not only to us, but also she said that by 2020 they would have Korea as the family fed would become the national religion. Give me a break. I mean, it's ridiculous. Okay? I mean, give me a break. So it's absolute lunacy. But you can see there's a massive change. You can see after the Han Mother failed, then there became a shift in the spiritual nature of Korea. And literally there came like a horde of demonic curse upon Korea. Like from the spiritual world, it's like all these demons are flocking to Korea and literally covering it up, with their demonic wings and all this stuff, if you envision it that way, right? The point is that there's a demonic spirit world that has completely descended on Korea. And they also have been praying, like predators that they are, using the apparatus and instruments of the state and government as one of their apparatus, but their whole motivating spiritual power has been really infecting the youth. And the youth are now leaning more and more leftist, more and more commie. Now this is opposite from what's happening in the West, because now the youth in the West, especially in Europe now, are leaning more and more right, because they've seen what happens with multiculturalism and cultural enrichment and rape culture being imported in, right? They believe the lie. They believe their stupid Marxist professors. They believe the media. They believe the people's in power in government. And what they get? They got screwed. That's what they got. So it's interesting now that the blessing of at least God's sovereignty is leaving Korea has done so over the last 3 years and has moved back to the West, of course, where God has led his kingship, where God has led Cain and Abel, where God has led all of us to gather here to fight for his kingdom. So we have to understand there is a real spiritual battle going on in Korea. And these are not only just forces, military and political, these are real spiritual forces. I mean, this is what Jesus was fighting. 30% of his ministry was fighting demons. Did you know that? Almost a third of Jesus' ministry was fighting demons, casting out demons and fighting demons. So there is a humongous demonic presence that is happening now, looming over East Asia, of course, with the red horse of China and the very dangerous situation with North Korea. The third U.S. citizen has been detained. That is yesterday in North Korea. Sources say it was actually a professor, Korean-American professor, that was detained. Here it is. Former Korean-American professor was arrested in North Korea. Also, the New York Times reported that after all these weird, perplexing volleyball games they were having near the nuclear sites, yes, the soldiers were playing volleyball. After that, they're starting back at work on the nuclear site. And these are the satellite images right here of the nuclear site, one of them in North Korea. Of course, it's not only a matter, like Tucker Carlson was interviewing one of the leading analysts, I believe out of the Heritage Foundation. And they were describing, North Korea not only has nuclear facility, but it has major artillery that is all over the board. I mean, it's not only in one place. And within 1 hour, 10,000 plus rounds of huge artillery will descend upon Seoul. 1 hour. 1 hour. That's not enough time for you to run away. When you start hearing the sirens, I don't know if they even have sirens in Korea. Do they have sirens there? If you hear the sirens, the bombs are coming down. The artillery is coming down. Right? I mean, you're going to be, it's much too late if that breaks down. And for the U.S. to take out all those artillery sites, that would be sustained warfare for days. Where in which during that time, millions of lives would be at risk. Millions, 10 million people in Seoul. Very highly populated, densely populated region. So it's not a matter of just taking out the nuclear sites. It's not that simple. It's not just surgical, tactical, taking out these sites. You got a whole freaking artillery, tens of thousands of artillery weapons hidden in places too. This is not simple. This is not a simple situation, okay? And it is, of course, escalating very fast. China trying to send their diplomat to North Korea, North Korea saying, get out, we don't want to talk to China either. So now they're further isolating themselves, even more so. And we know that with tyrants, the more isolated they become, the more dangerous they become. Okay? So a very tense, very serious situation. It's like you can't even like open the news without seeing some craziness about North Korea coming up. It's crazy. It is really crazy. There they go. They are preparing. Here they go. They're preparing for April 25th. That is in 2 days. People's Army anniversary. And there's concern that the North can attempt a provocation at any time, says Hwang Yo-an, the acting president of South Korea. I want to show you, okay, of course, and the North says that, promising that they will wage a great war, here it is, if the U.S. provokes the DPRK. Isn't it funny how they named their country the Democratic People's Republic of even though it's one of the most tyrannical states. I mean, it's ridiculous. See, they just use a keyword and just think people are so, their people just have to believe that they're democratic. Its army and people will start a great war of justice for national reunification without hesitation. Now, this is what we have to understand about North Korea. They've been teaching, okay, about reunification since Kim Il-sung. And you'll see that in some of the testimonies I want to show you today, because we should look into the nature of what Father called the false Satans, the Satans of this earth. And he was, of course, referring to the North, the leaders, the false fathers, right? He was the true father, and Kim Il-sung would call himself father as well. He would call himself, the DPRK people have to worship him as literally their father. Okay? So father was calling the false father, and of course, protecting Korea, not only spiritually, but it was the decades and decades of anti-communist movements, anti-communist education, educated, politically investing all that father had into that apparatus of constantly doing VOC work and victory of communism work and, reunification work, but not reunification towards communism, reunification towards God's kingdom, towards sovereignty. It was the endless, that was going on this 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s. That was not stopping. It was endless going on. There was a real war ideologically, constantly. There always is. And after the Han mother fell and erased father and did all that she did and made herself into a god, what did she do? She stopped all that education. She stopped all that movement, that whole movement that was investing in keeping peace. So all that infrastructure, of course, broke down. And she put incompetent, pathetic sycophants into those positions. And of course, all of them have collapsed. I mean, Kuk Jung was building up all those organizations. Every single one of them have been, mutilated economically and leadership-wise. Its army of people will start a great war. So they are seriously growing hysterically mad, and we see, of course, people that are very dangerous in America, some politicians, like Senator John McCain, like Lindsey Graham, literally saying they are the happiest people on earth now because they're so proud of Trump starting all these new wars. The Rhino Republicans are so proud of him. They're so proud of him attacking Syria, even though there's no proof that that was done by Assad, and he has no motive for doing it. They're so happy. Lindsey Graham is... these warmongers, constant warmongers are now praising Trump, saying, Trump, you're so wonderful. Continue all these wars. Do more wars. More. Yeah, yay, more wars. These are not the people the American people voted for. These are not. We wanted the opposite. Trump was saying he's not going to go into all these foreign wars, which is the reason why his whole Trumpism, movement erupted and came into power. If they move in this direction continuously, he's going to shave off massive portions of his support base, shave off libertarian groups, shave off, people who were progressive but then became Republican to vote for Trump. He's going to shave them all off. And the way he's moving with both the wars and also prohibition, which is the war on drugs, Jeff Sessions intimating towards a very strong enforcement of marijuana and things like that. Enforcement, that's going to lead to larger problems. We don't support the use of drugs. We don't support all those things. They're bad. Father said, don't use them. They're bad. They would destroy your life. But the state creates more problems when it tries to prohibit them. It creates gangs, black market, trading. It enriches the mob bosses. It just creates so much hell on earth. Hell on earth. And it really tears down communities. It really destroys communities because they're being put into these privately run prisons and just being stocked up and used as slave labor. So we don't support the use of these kind of things. We support the regulation of these things that the states can decide to do. Regulating like tobacco. Tobacco was pushed out of usage by education. When people were educated about how dangerous it is. Then people decided, I'm not going to use tobacco as much. Not because of prohibition, not because you banned it, it's because people got educated how dangerous it is for your brain and how dangerous for your lungs. You're going to show the lung disease and the cancer disease, So Trump is moving on some major fronts. Economic stuff, he's doing great. A lot of good stuff. With Neil Gorsuch, he's moving on Second Amendment, probably very good stuff. But in some areas like foreign policy and war making, boy, he's starting to look like Bush. And again, and also the Jeff Sessions, who is great, But again, if he starts going after the war on drugs, we know how of a failure that is and how much more problems that's going to create for us domestically. So we have to be praying for Trump. It is a very serious time. He is being pulled from all angles, and we have to pray that he is working with the wisdom of God so that he can lead this country and, keep the world out of World War III. Now, this is something I wanted to show you because it's important for us to also get a look into North Korea. What is it like inside? I had to go there representing Father, cross the 38th parallel, to go there on Father's behalf when he was, in his elder years. So he sent me as the international president to North Korea. So I've been there, and it is totally, as you can see with this guy who literally just travels around the world, and he just had on his radar, I want to go to North Korea because nobody can go. So I want to go. I want to see it. So this young kid, I guess there's tours to North Korea, so he went on a tour to North Korea and had some of that. But it gives you a little glimpse into this kingdom, this hermit kingdom. And it gives you a glimpse of the mortal, corruptible body, the political body that gets corrupted when it takes on political Satanism, the actual world that it creates. Of course, we have to remember that what you see here is only what they want you to see. So everything is restricted. Photos, you have to ask permission to take a photo. You have to ask permission to walk this way, walk that way. You constantly have monitors. Everything is monitored. All these shows that you'll see there, that people dancing in the street, all that is pre-organized. You'll see them at the end at a local park where they're supposed to supposedly be able to commiserate with local people, even though they can't talk to them. They can at least see them. And they're all out there dancing so happily. You understand, that's all planned and organized. That's all orchestrated. So you can see the nature of a beast when it rules over a population. And these are, you see, the people in North Korea, people in wherever they're ruled under, over by tyrants. The people are not the issue. The people are just, like normal people. They're just heavily indoctrinated, heavily brainwashed. The problem is, of course, the predatory class. All right, let's take a look at this video and take a little view inside North Korea. I want to jump to like halfway through this video.
Hello, you're about to watch a
There he goes. Oh, there it is. Okay, good. Go ahead, play that video, boys.
During our days in Korea, we'd be having our lunches and dinners in different locations.
I've always wanted to find a dragon somewhere in the world, and I cannot believe that I finally did find one in North Korea. As you can see behind my back.
But in every single one of them, the waitresses would sing the same songs and invite the tourists to sing and dance with them. This was the first time we saw locals at a restaurant, and some people thought they came there for a reason. We would visit universities, schools, and other learning centers almost every day. A lot of the students had to perform for us, and some of them were apparently really well practiced. At one particular middle school, one young student kicked my ass at table tennis. However, back at the hotel, I was the king of the table. Sweet revenge. One of the days, we went on a tram ride around Pyongyang. That was one of the highlights of the trip, because we were finally able to see at least a little bit of the local way of life. The funny thing was that in every carriage there were some colorful notes full of the leaders' ideas, thoughts and advices for the people. We also visited some ancient sites, small towns, parks, cafes, the demilitarized zone between the two Koreas, and many other places.
So we just came to a pizza restaurant in Pyongyang, and it looks like a nice pizza place. So apparently I just found a Snickers bar at a hotel in Korea, which is extremely interesting. But then the best thing, I discovered this local rice drink. There was rice at the bottom of the bottle and you need to mix it to, I don't know, have the drink ready. But it's really good. Thank you very much.
Anytime, Vikram.
Yes, good bartender.
Probably the most interesting day was the last day of my trip, which was also the birthday of their eternal president, Kim Il-sung. In the morning, we went to pay our respects and bow for the biggest dear leader statues in all of North Korea. The birthday of Kim Il-sung is a national holiday where people do not have to go to work, but every North Korean has to go and show their respects to the leader statues close to their communities. Afterwards, we went to see how hundreds of Korean women practice a beautiful dance wearing their national dresses. To go into a theme park nearby where we took a real roller coaster ride.
I'm at an amusement park in North Korea and I'm gonna go on a roller coaster now. So we'll see how it goes. Pretty exciting.
The ride was very basic, but it was still a very interesting experience to be able to go on a roller coaster ride in North Korea. However, after this one, we were not allowed to go on any other rides and had to leave the theme park. After an awesome lunch, our guide said that we will be able to go to a park where only the local people hang out.
So we're at a public park in North Korea with a lot of local people just having fun.
I was very surprised to see literally thousands of people dancing. Throughout the whole trip, we didn't have any chance to talk with the local people except for our two North Korean guides. This was as close as we ever got to them, but even then there was no communication between us. After the park, our guides wouldn't tell us where we were going. They simply said it was a surprise. We went on a large yacht from which we saw some spectacular fireworks. The 7 days I spent in North Korea have been some of the most interesting and mind-opening days in my entire life. To be honest, the country looked a lot better than I had imagined, though obviously I was only shown what they wanted me to see. My guides were wonderful and friendly people who seemed to truly love their country and especially the dear leaders. But all the rules and limitations were way too much to handle. I remember for days after I left North Korea, I couldn't believe I could do whatever I wished. Even buying groceries or taking a cab seemed like great privileges. To me, freedom is everything. Freedom to choose what to work, what to read, where to go, and where to live. It was sad to realize that millions of people do not share the same freedom simply because they were born in a different place.
And there you go. That is the one tourist's, experience there in North Korea. You see how it's all about illusion. Satan's kingdom is all about illusion. Look, we have fireworks. Look, we have big yachts. Look, we have blue light karaoke. Look, we have a cafe. You see how they designed that cafe to look like a Korean, South Korean cafe? Did you see that? It's all about illusion. But how are the people? What's happening in North Korea? I found this very interesting. There's a group of Asian young people who are also politically, I don't know where they are, but anyways, they did an interview with North Korean defectors, and it shows you till this day where North Korea is. We heard stories from when Father was there, of course, but even other people who were in the leadership who were from North Korea. And they would say that when you're very young, you would see public executions in the towns. They would force you to. Many people thought that that's not existing today. We can see all that illusion that you just saw this kid and his video and his trip was allowed to take pictures of what's really behind there. People completely ruled over by Satan's. I want to go to these testimonies. Go to these testimonies next. Let's go to this group of testimonies as we look deeper into what's happening with real political Satanism. Go ahead, play this.
Arguably the most isolated and secretive nation on the planet, and chances are you probably have no idea what's going on there other than what you see on the news from time to time. So what do? We come up with a whole bunch of stereotypes about North Korea and we start criticizing and ridiculing them. But in the process, what may get forgotten is the people of North Korea. In that spirit, we're able to interview a couple of young North Korean defectors to hear their stories. Given the importance of this topic, we're going to separate this interview into two videos. In this video, you'll get to hear what life is actually like in North Korea. Now, some of their stories might be disturbing to some viewers, but we didn't edit them out on purpose because we think it's important that listen and listen to what they have to say.
이렇게 시간 내주셔서 고마워요.
제가 더 고맙죠.
저를 비롯한 세상 많은 사람들이 북한이라는 나라에 대해서 궁금한 게 굉장히 많거든요.
네.
정확하게 좀 북한 사람의 입장으로서 설명을 해주실 수 있는 부분이 많을 것 같아요.
네.
탈북했을 때 나이가 몇 살이었죠?
저 12살에 탈북했어요.
북한을 떠난 연도는 2001년도가 되고요. 중국에서 4년 체류했고 그다음에 한국에서는 지금 만 10년이 됐습니다.
근데 어떻게 하다가 이제 탈북할 결정을 하신 건가요?
가장 큰 거는 그거였어요. 언젠간 나도 굶어 죽겠다라는 생각이 있었기 때문에 이제 김정일이가 정권을 잡으면서 북한에 이제 대대적으로 식량난을 겪었고 거기서 이제 정확한 통계는 아니지만 300만 명이 굶어 죽었고 그걸 이제 저는 그때 당시에 다 체험을 했고 직접적으로
1990년도 들어가지고 고난의 행군이라는 시기가 있었어요. 진짜 힘들었었거든요. 그때 저희 마을에서도 3분의 2가 굶어서 죽었어요. 그때 너무 먹을 게 없어가지고 다 굶어서 죽은 거예요.
정부에서 줄 게 없으니까.
네, 정부에서 안 주니까.
직접 굶어 죽는 사람을 본 적도 있어요?
저는 제 옆에서 2살 어린 여자아이가 굶어 죽었어요. 근데 사람이 죽을 때요, 파리가 먼저 알아봐요. 숨이 붙어 있는데 이 사람이 죽을 사람이다 라고 판정 짓는 게 마치 그 지진이 일어나면 쥐나 이런 그 동물들이 먼저 달아나듯이 어쩌면 파리가 먼저 알아봤더라고요. 그게 뭐냐면 네, 눈과 콧구멍, 귀, 입, 항문 이런 부분들, 네, 그런 부분들이 새카맣게 달라붙어요. 이런 경험을 하다 보니까 언젠가는 나도 그 모습이 그 상황에 놓여지지 말라는 법은 없겠다라는 생각이 들었었고 당시에 또 어머니가 이제 중국으로 몇 번 왔다 갔다 했었어요. 그래서 중국이 잘 산다는 거예요. 그래서 엄마가 중국 간다고 하니까 그냥 따라 나섰다. 중국에서 체류, 그러니까 생활하기 전까지는 중국이 최고의 천국이었죠. 저는 계속 늘 페트병의 그거를 경험을 계속 얘기하는데 북한에 있을 때 저는 새아버지하고 같이 살았었는데 새아버지가 술을 좋아했어요. 근데 당시에 술값이 일반 성인 5명이 한 끼를 어느 정도 배불리 먹을 수 있는 값어치였어요. 겨울 때쯤 되면 북한은 일단 전기가 없다 보니까 그리고 전 또 시골에서 살다 보니까
전기가 아예 없어요?
전기를 1년에 몇 번 못 줘요. 이제 1월 1일이나 왜냐면 그거 1월 1일을 왜 주냐면 김일성이나 김정일의 신년사를 듣기 위해서. 그래서 그 TV를 시청하라고 해서 전기 주기도 하고
그럼 전기가 없이 생활을 어떻게 해요?
등잔 이제 석유를 심지를 넣어서 태워서 그런 등잔 그런 상황에서 살다 보니까 밤에 이제 술심부를 왔다 갔다 하다 보면 얼음판에 넘어질 때가 있어요. 얼음에 불이 없다 보니까 이제
그렇죠.
아무리 조심을 해도 한 1년에 4번 정도는 깨요. 아버지한테 혼나는 게 두려운 게 아니라 그 값어치를 내 부주의로 인해서 그 5명이 먹을 수 있는 그 값어치를 날렸다라는 어떤 자책감에 너무나 괴로웠었거든요. 그래서 한이 맺혔던 게 안 깨지는 병이 있으면 나한테 하나만 다오 이랬었는데 그거를 이제 라진선봉 북한에 이제 개방한 곳 한 곳인데 거기면 이제 엄마 따라 장사를 따라갔다가 보게 됐어요. 페트병을. 아 이런 병이 있었구나. 그래가지고 그걸 사려고 했는데 값어치가 너무 비싼 거예요. 그래가지고 그걸 또 못 가졌어요. 여튼 그 병이 존재한다는 걸 알았는데 두만강을 건널 때 두만강의 그 쓰레기 무덤에 페트병이 굴러다니는 거예요. 너무나 쇼킹했고 근데 이제 목숨이 왔다 갔다 하는 그 순간이니까 그걸 줍는 순간 이제 브로커가 저기 새 거 많다고 갈 때 새 거 주겠다. 정말이냐고 하면서 그때서야 버리고 이제 갔던 그런 기억이 나요.
그럼 중국 가기는 쉽나요?
아니요, 전혀 쉽지가 않죠. 일단은 목숨을 걸어야 되는 일이고
탈북하려면은 어디 무슨 담을 넘거나 그래야 돼요?
아니요. 탈북할 때는 두만강이라고 있어요. 강 하나 사이에 북한이랑 중국이 있거든요. 두만강을 건너거나 압록강을 건너야만 갈 수 있거든요. 근데
배 타고서군요.
저 같은 경우에는 탈북할 때 겨울에 탈북했어요. 2월달 탈북하는데 북한 엄청 춥잖아요. 그래서 2월달에도 막 얼음이 이렇게 꽝꽝 얼어있거든요.
그냥 그걸 걸어가셨어요?
네, 그냥 걸어갔어요. 네.
그럼 그거를 누가 이렇게 보고 있어서 쏠 수 있는 거예요?
네네. 북한 군인들이 있잖아요. 이렇게 땅속에 있어요. 총구만 이렇게 내보내고 있거든요. 그래서 북한 사람들 탈북할 때 그 군인들을 볼 수가 없어요.
그럼 언제 쏠지 모르잖아요?
네, 모르죠. 그러니까 엄청 위험해요. 그래서 그 근처에 있는 군인들한테는 돈을 다 주고 오늘 몇 시부터 몇 시까지 탈북을 할 거니까 그때는 총 쏘지 마라. 이렇게 약속을 하고 그리고 넘어가게 됩니다. 사람들이 엄두를 못 내는 이유가 그 탈북을 3번 시도하면은 3번 시도하다가 걸리잖아요. 그러면 총살을 당하게 돼요. 공개 처형이라고 하는데요.
공개 처형이라는 건 뭔가요?
공개 처형은 이제 북한 체제에서 하지 말라는 것을 위반했을 경우 그것이 이제 좀 엄중할 경우 그러면 이제 공개 처형을 하는 것이고 공개 처형을 하게 되면 모든 국민들이 나와서 봐야 돼요.
방송을 해요. 방송을 하면서 오늘 몇 시 몇 분 여기서 총살 그거 있으니까 다 나오라고. 근데 11살 이하는 볼 수가 없어요. 근데 12살부터는 모든 사람을 다 봐야 돼요.
보기 싫어도
네,
봐야 돼요?
무조건 봐야 돼요.
저 같은 경우는 12살 때 12살 되던 해 그때 봤거든요. 제명은 그거였어요. 탄광에 어느 그 구리선 그 굵은 거를 그걸 이제 몇 메터를 잘라서 중국에 밀수를 해서 팔아버린 거예요. 근데 그 처형에 당했던 그 사람은 한 가정의 가장이었고 그리고 국가에서는 배급을 안 주고 그래서 탄광의 일은 해야 되고 그러니까 이제 가족들은 굶어 죽으니까 그걸 이제 가장으로서 충실한 거죠. 사실은 그거를 이제 물론 국가의 재정에 손댄 건 맞지만 근데 총살감이냐라고 했을 땐 전혀 아닌데 그 군 사람들이 다 나와서 봤었어요. 그리고 가족들도 다 봅니다. 심지어 이제 저는 이제 공교롭게도 또 그 가족 옆에서 그걸 지켜봤는데 일단 아내는 그 단두대에 묶여있는 남편 보면서 바로 실신을 했고 그다음 제 지금 어렴풋이 기억으로는 오늘이었는데 오빠하고 여동생이었던 것 같은데 여동생은 이제 아버지 울부짖다가 걔도 그 친구도 실신하고 그다음 단두대 한 명을 묶어놓고 4명이 총을 쏴요. 그래서 연발로 쏴요. 그것도 따다당 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 이렇게 쏘는데 총에 맞는 사람도 그때 처음으로 봤어요. 그래서 이제 요것이 단두대라고 치면 이 단두대에 사람을 한 명을 묶어요. 그러면 머리, 목, 가슴, 허리, 무릎, 발목을 쏘는데 그래서 쏘니까 이렇게 되는 거죠. 탁탁탁탁 꺾여요. 네. 머리 쏘니까 이제 머리 위에 이게 싹 어디 간지 없고 이제 뇌가 푹 나오고 그리고 가슴을 쐈는데 피가 이제 분수처럼 쏟아져 나오고 그 다음에 이제 허리를 쏘는데 허리가 꺾이고 그래서 뇌가 드렁드렁 매달리고 그 다음에 이제 무릎 쏘니까 완전히 이렇게 똥 말아지는 거예요. 사람이 이렇게. 그 다음에 그거를 이제 쌀마대 같은 데다가 이렇게 해서 그 발목에 묶인 끈을 칼로 끊어서 쏙 넣고 묶어서 어디론가 싣고 갔었어요. 북한에서는 그걸 보여주는 이유가 있어요. 죄를 지면 이렇게 죄값을 받아야 된다. 그래서 죄를 짓지 마라. 당의 용도에 따라라. 이거거든요. 저는 그때 당시에 그 죄인을 보고 죄를 지었으니까 이렇게 처벌받는구나 라고 생각을 했었어요.
지금도 그런 게 계속 진행이 되고 있다고 생각하시나요?
네. 공개처형은 계속 지금도 암암리에 계속 진행되고 있고 그걸 보고 온 증언자들이 계속 늘어나고 있고
네. 이런 이제 계속 탈북자가 늘고 있는 상황이잖아요.
네네.
그러면 정부에서는 어떤 대책을 세우나요? 여기에 대해서 그냥 그래 하려면 해라 그렇게 내버려두는 상황인가요? 지금?
아니죠. 김정일이 이렇게 통치를 할 때는 그 탈북해가지고 걸린 사람은 걸린 사람만 총살해라 이거였거든요. 지금은 김정은이 지금 대통령이 됐잖아요. 이제는 한 명 걸리면은 온 가족이 다 죽어요. 4대를 죽입니다. 4대를. 할아버지, 할머니, 그리고 엄마, 아빠, 거기에 또 딸, 아들, 그리고 사촌까지 죽입니다. 그래서 더더욱 그 탈북을 못하죠, 사람들이.
사람들이 막 정부에 대한 불만 같은 걸 가지는 게 당연하지 않나요?
당연히 불만 같은 거 가지죠. 막 시위 같은 것도 생겨요.
시위를 해요?
네. 근데 시위가 1시간, 2시간 후에 다시 사라져요.
왜요?
왜냐면은 그 군인들이 이렇게 막죠. 시위를 못하게 시위를 막고 뭐 한국에서는 뭐 서울에서 부산 그냥 갈 수 있는데 북한에서는 이렇게 여행증이라는 것을 가지고 가야만 다른 뭐 서울에서 부산 간다면 그렇게 갈 수 있어요. 그래가지고 다른 지역을 못 가다 보니까 시위를 해도 다른 지역에서는 볼 수가 없잖아요.
그렇죠.
그래서 그냥 시위해도 바로 사그라들어요.
북한 사람들은 뭐 이렇게 전체적으로 스트레스를 많이 받는다고 생각을 하세요? 아니면 그냥 그래도 그 나름대로의 삶에 만족하고 산다고 생각을 하세요? 그러니까 얼마나 행복한가요? 그 사람들은?
제 생각에는 아무리 힘들고 못 먹고 해도 사람들이 다 웃어요.
진짜요?
항상 웃으면서 살아요. 네.
많이 웃는다고요?
네, 진짜 많이 웃어요. 왜냐면은 이렇게 좀 잘 살고 그 풍족한 나라일수록 좀 스트레스도 많아지고 왜냐면 생각할 게 많으니까. 북한 같은 경우에는 아무리 못 살아도 서로 이렇게 만나가지고 대화를 하면서 막 진짜 행복해요. 정말 행복해요. 모든 사람들이 다 행복하게 지내거든요.
혹시 개인적으로 모를 수도 있지만 그 북한 사람들의 수입이 얼마 정도 된다고 생각을 하세요? 예를 들어서 뭐 한 달에
저희 북한 같은 경우에는 그 한 달에 제가 오기 전에는 한 달에 5,000원을 받았었습니다.
정부에서 나오는 돈이라든지
그건 없어요. 그 시스템 마비된 건 오래됐고요. 배급 체제가 이제 무너진 건 오래됐어요.
보면은 쌀이 1kg에 3,000원입니다. 그래가지고
1kg가 많은 게 아니잖아요.
1kg가 요만큼이죠. 그래서 그 요만큼이 3,000원이니까
지금도 그럴까요? 지금도
저희 언니들이 하는 얘기가 그 쌀 먹는 날은 오직 자기 생일 때 자기 생일 때 이렇게 쌀밥을 해가지고 밥 먹고 근데 생일인 사람만 쌀밥 먹고
다른 사람들 그냥 보고만 있어야 돼요.
다른 사람들은 축하해주는 거지. 아이고 맛있게 먹었어 뭐 이러면서
지금 약간 믿겨지지가 않는데
네. 한국에서는 그냥 뭐 흔하잖아요, 쌀밥이.
오히려 쌀은 다이어트 안 좋다고 안 먹죠.
맞아요. 너무 살찐다고 안 먹잖아요. 근데
네.
북한에서는 없어서 못 먹죠. 원래는 장사를 못 했었거든요. 왜냐면 다 나라에서 돈도 지원하고 밥도 주고 했으니까 장사를 못 하겠었는데 90년도부터는 장사도 시작하겠어요. 왜냐면은 굶어 죽는 사람들이 많으니까.
북한은 사실은 공식적으로는 사회주의 체제고 그러나 실제 주민들의 생활은 시장에서 모든 게 이루어집니다.
어떻게 보면 아이러니한 게 공산주의잖아요.
네.
근데 그 공산주의 안에서 어떻게 보면 약간 자본주의가 생기는 느낌?
그렇죠. 내막은 완전히 자본주의화가 되어 있는 거예요. 근데 중요한 거는 본인들이 자본주의화에 되어 있다라는 걸 몰라요. 근데 그 속에서 북한 주민들이 가장 갈망하는 게 외부 정보예요. 그 외부 정보를 어디서 접하나? 이거 CDR.
네.
네. 지금은 USB로. 그래서 한류가 이제 유입이 된 거죠.
보면은 이게 한국 드라마가 방영되잖아요. 그럼 2-3개월 후에는 그 CD로 구워져요. CD로 이렇게 북한으로 이렇게 옵니다.
그 누가 가져오는 거예요?
그 중국에서 무역하는 사람들이 사가지고 들어오면은 북한에서 되게 비싸게 이렇게 팔 수 있거든요.
네.
그러니까
근데 그런 거 걸리면 어떻게 돼요?
걸리면 안 되죠. 걸리면 안 되죠. 예, 아오지 탄광으로 직행이죠. 그러니까 걸리지 않고, 그래서 그 드라마 볼 때도 걸리지 않기 위해서 이 방문 다 걸어놓고
네.
창문에 그 커튼 닫혀놓고 불빛 새어나가지 않게, 그리고 또 그 TV에다가 이불을 이렇게 탁 덮어놔요. 그리고 이렇게 숨어가지고 보는 거예요. 다른 사람이 혹시라도 보고 신고를 할까봐. 그래서 위험하니까 문 다 걸어놓고
그래서 그렇게 봤어요, 드라마를?
네, 그렇게 봤죠. 근데 그렇게 보는 게 더 짜릿하고 걸릴까봐 있잖아요. 뭐 초심초심 이런 거 있잖아요. 더 짜릿하고 더 재밌었어요.
한국 드라마 볼 때 그 정도면 예를 들어서 뭐 야동 같은 거 뭐 큰일 나겠네요.
야동 장난 아니죠. 북한에서 야동을 황색 비디오라고 해요.
네.
근데 보면 야동을 찍는 사람 있잖아요. 감독이랑
네.
스텝 그리고 배우들은 야동 찍으면 아예 사형이에요. 죽어요. 찍으면 죽어요. 그리고 보는 사람들도 안 되는데요. 그 야동 보는 사람들도 이렇게 아까처럼 막 창문 다 쳐놓고 그냥 TV에다가 이불 확 덮어놓고 그리고 혼자서 이렇게 봅니다.
결국에는 한국 드라마랑 야동이 같은 수준이네요.
네, 그렇죠. 야동이 조금 더 심하죠. 네.
그러면 한국에서 그런 정보를 많이 듣는다면 이제 한국에 대한 인식이 어떤가요?
제가 북한에 있을 때는 한국은 거지들이 들끓는 걸로 알고 있었고요.
예.
예, 거지들이 들끓고 있고 자본주의들이 이제 판을 치는 세상인 줄 알고 있었고 지금 친구들은 전혀 그렇지가 않아요. 천국이라고 생각을 합니다. 그래서 희망을 안고 오는 거죠. 여기 오면 내 노력만 하면 할 수 있다. 옛날에는 저는 먹고 살기 어려워서 굶어 죽는 게 억울해서 탈북을 감행했다면 지금의 북한의 주민들은 굶어 죽지는 않아요. 어느 정도 먹고 살아요. 이제 그런데 왜 탈북을 하냐면 자유가 없어서. 그러니까 자기가 본인이 무슨 꿈을 꾸는데 꿈을 펼칠 수가 없어요. 그래서 그게 답답하고 억울하고 화난다고 오는 거예요.
근데 옛날엔 괜찮은데 갑자기 그게 왜 이제 불만이에요?
그게 이제 아주
영향을...
예리한 질문을 주셨는데 저희 세대 때 이제 식량난을 겪으면서 탈북을 하게 되고 탈북을 하면서 중국 땅을 가게 되고 중국 땅에서 세상을 보게 되고 세상을 보게 되면서 본인들이 지금까지 보고 듣고 느꼈던 것이 다 가짜라는 걸 알게 되고 그거를 이제 가족들한테 정보 유입을 하고
입소문이네.
그렇죠. 그리고 그들이 변화하게 되면서 이제 그 정권에 대한 어떤 신뢰가 바닥이 난 거죠.
지금 최근에
네.
북한에서 어떤 일이 일어나고 있는지 들을 방법이 있어요?
저희 같은 경우에는 중국에 핸드폰이 있어요. 그러니까 그 핸드폰이 중국 핸드폰이에요.
네.
중국 통신사를 쓰고 중국 핸드폰을 북한에 보내줘가지고 그 중국 핸드폰으로 이렇게 저희가 통화를 가능해요.
거기 그럼
네네.
북한 사람들도 휴대폰이 있어요?
네, 휴대폰 있어요. 근데 저희 같은 경우에는 그 북한 휴대폰 쓸 수 없어요. 왜냐면은 북한 휴대폰은 모든 게 다 녹음이 돼요. 그래가지고 혹시라도 남한이랑 전화 통화하는 거 들키면은 그냥 다 온 가족이 다 죽는 거거든요. 진짜. 그래가지고 그 산을 2개, 3개 정도 이렇게 넘어가지고 가서 그리고 전화 통화를 하는 거예요. 4km씩 막 걸어가가지고 요즘에 또 홍수가 생겼잖아요. 그래가지고 그냥 집을 싹 밀고 갔어요. 그래가지고 그 홍수 난 후로부터는 연락이 안 돼요. 저희 북한의 가족들이랑 연락이 안 돼요. 그래서 북한 사정도 잘 모르고 있고 지금은 가족들이 죽었는지 살았는지도 아직 몰라요.
세상 사람들이 북한 사람들한테 어떤 편견을 가지고 있는 것 같아요?
그냥 마냥 유린당하고 봉쇄되고 사람들의 사고의식이 닫혀있고 그 세뇌교육으로 인해서 거기서가 멈춰져 있는 것 같아요. 그냥 제가 말하고 싶은 거는 사람 사는 곳은 어디나 다 똑같다. 그들이 아무리 폐쇄적인 속에서 살았어도 물론 저도 그 영향을 받았었지만 생각할 줄 알기 때문에 뭐 이제 좀 요즘 세대 같은 경우는 지금 제가 말씀드렸다시피 이만큼 많이 변화하고 있고 갈증을 느낄 줄도 알고 근데 이제 그 안에서는 이제처럼 이러한 시스템으로 인해서 소리를 못 내고 있는 거고 이런 부분들을 좀 아는 데 있어서 국제적으로나 이제 남한 사회나 좀 미흡하게 알고 있지 않나 그런.
In the next video, you're going to find out how their lives have changed after arriving in South Korea. So stay tuned and make sure to subscribe to Asian Boss to be notified.
All right, folks. But anyways, a little more of a glimpse into what's happening in North Korea. It's sad. It's very sad. These are Father's people. Father always, you can read the Chun Sung-yeong. He goes on and on about homeland, how Cheongju is a homeland. I mean, Father goes on and on about them. He truly loves his, birthplace. It really is. I mean, just even preparing for this, I was going through all these scriptures about North Korea. And Father is just constantly reminiscing about Cheongju and his home and, the warmth of the people there. In the next one, which I won't show today, you can go look at it yourself. But they actually go on and say, actually, sometimes I find that people in South Korea, even though they're more wealthy, they're more sad. That's what one of that young man says. Because they're so isolated, even in this rich society, they don't have all the connections that they have. They don't even know their neighbor. North Korea is under total oppression, but the only way you can survive is by having closeness with your relatives, with your people that are around you, because they're the only form of real contact that you can have with anything, because those people are craving relationship, in the end, relationship with God, the transcendent Father who loves them. So it is a very sad thing that is happening. Of course, from God's perspective, when we look from God's perspective, yes, God is grieving for North Korea, and for Korea in general, in the world. But again, God sees providence. God sees the movement of providence. And when somebody at the cosmic level, like the Han Mother, does such a massive fall like that and totally destroys and betrays God's love and mission for her, that has massive consequences. Massive consequences. And so just as the people of Israel rejected Jesus and murdered him, we see that within 30 years, their whole nation was destroyed. It was destroyed. Once God's hedge of protection leaves, and once God honors your decision to turn your back from God, you're on your own. You are on your own. You are now facing all the wolves and predators that were lurking outside that castle. And God honors it. He honors people to be able to turn his back. So when after they've turned back, after they curse God, after they've done all this thing, and then they're right about to die and they say, oh God, why'd you leave me? No, you idiot, you're the one who left God. And that's why you're cursed. It's funny with human beings, always trying to pretend they had no responsibility, always want to pretend that there's no moral accountability. But of course, that leads to Satanism. And you see that in the world today, there is still political Satanism. What happens when a nation gives itself over to Satan, to the predatory class, when it gives itself over? And you can see, this is real world, folks. This is real world. We take it so for granted being able to call somebody in a different country. We take it for so granted being able to do this and that. walk and drive from this town to Milford or drive from this town to Scranton, whatever. You can't do that in North Korea. You have to get a permit to go to the next town. If tourists come in, you're all, you have to go out and do like those huge government things. You see them out there in the previous video I showed. They force everybody to come out and do like these dances for the tourists or playing in the parks like that. So it's all about illusion. Satan's all about illusion. And in the end, when you sell off and prostitute your freedom to Satan, it never gets better. It always gets worse. When you sell your soul to Satan, he makes it sound good. It sounds like you're going to get power. It always gets worse. That's, of course, what's happening in Europe. That's, of course, is happening in Seoul, in Korea now. South Korea is now leaning very heavy left, including the young people now. So in terms of God's Adamic nation, that is such a tremendous shift. Tremendous shift. And of course, we see now the spirit of political Satanism, which is really guided by Satan and his nature, and human beings who sell their souls out to this evil power so that they can get more power and consume resources for themselves and buy off their friends and punish their enemies, control the nexus of murder and money to get all the girls and all the sex trafficking, everything they want to do. This is the possession of a nation. And in the end, it comes from a spiritual source. It comes from a spiritual source. It's almost as you look over Korea now, it is now just covered in these demonic spirits that are just completely attached vampirically to the nations, just sucking it dry. We have in that small pockets of Korea, also Japan, we have our brothers and sisters literally trying to fight off these demonic hordes. Every time they're going out there to, to go out there and stand up, at least as a conditional offering, on a weekly basis, trying to get out there and trying to spread the word to people, wake people up. It's literally like they're facing all these hordes of demons. I mean, remember when we're dealing with the whole Trump campaign, it's like you're literally, if you're even talking to a Hillary supporter, it's like talking to someone who's possessed. Possessed by a demon. I mean, completely in a cult. And you have these people who literally, this young man who's not only see people dying and starving and all that kind of thing, but literally being shot down, crumpled down, publicly executed for, taking a piece of rope. Taking a piece of rope. Okay? And the guy is shot dead in the head, blow out his brains and make everybody see this guy for stealing a meter of rope. But how did all this start? I mean, it was all, we're going to fight for Korea. Oh, we're going to liberate our people. Oh, it's a liberation army. Oh, you remember this, all this. And this is what they become, always. This is the pattern of history, the pattern of the unfortunate choice, the hellish choice of the first ancestor. Creates all this crap, creates all this hell. Do you see how like one person can create all this hell on earth? One bloodline can create all this hell on earth. Do you understand how that's all connected? One line can create all this destruction. And that's why we go back to our scripture. It is the line of Satan. It's a bloodline of Satan. It is the heritage. It is the lineage. It is the tradition. It is the culture of the archangel predator that has been passed down through the generations. And that's why we've been under complete tyranny. Corruptible, mortal, of wicked flesh. But Jesus said, we must pray every day for the kingdom to come. We must pray to our Father in heaven, who is holy, who is righteous, who is just, who has promised to his people that he will bring his kingdom. And his kingdom will not only be in the spiritual when you die or being raised into an incorruptible body, it will be here on earth. It will be here on earth. And as Paul said, to inherit the body of immortality. That's why people just don't understand, oh, you know, Father's gone. No, Father lives on in his kingship. Father lives on in his kingship. He lives on in his lineage. Father lives on in me. He lives on in my son. He lives on, etc. The King of Kings lives on. And he gets to live on in the world. Transcending the corruptible body, transcending the corruptible world. And there is something different when you start looking into the future with your eyes of lineage. Something very different. When I was young, like these young people, you don't know what the heck that means. You don't know what the hell that means. When you have children, and I always just hear this, I was like, oh, here we go, when you have the children, and you'll understand. Here we go again. I did the same thing, you dumb young kids. Sometimes you're dumb, sometimes you're smart. They're more smart than the normal brain-dead dumb kids. That's true. But you don't get it. You just don't get it when you're young. You just don't get it. You just don't understand the importance of lineage. You just don't get it. Why is there infatuation with lineage and all? You know, because they're brainwashed to not have children. They're brainwashed to not have lineage. That's cool. That's trendy. You can live just for yourself and live selfishly for yourself their whole life, and then just die and evaporate, just how they want you to. Good little slave. You don't want anything that continues from honor. They don't want anything that continues from righteousness. They don't want any living culture and living heritage that continues on and becomes immortal. They don't want that. And there is a culture, like even, I'll give you an example. I was teaching these guys the art of the samurai sword, and I was explaining to them, when you're training your mind, your body, you're training yourself, and God is like creating a beautiful katana sword. But you're not going to start out a beautiful, you're going to start as an ugly piece of mahogany metal. They all think they're tough when they first come in, then they come and they get their booty beat up. And then they realize that they thought they were this katana metal. No, you an ugly piece of metal. You get a reality check. And then this thing has to be hammered. Boom, bam. You know, you see how they do it in the swordsmiths. They have like 3 people, and the master's there, and he's holding the piece of mahogany, and there's 3 guys, young people, that are going pang, 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 and that's how they speed up the folding process of the sword. And it's beaten, and it's beaten, and it's hammered, and it's hammered, and it's hammered tens of thousands of times. And once it's hammered, it's folded over, and then hammered again, and then it's folded over, and hammered again, until it has literally thousands of layers inside that pushes out all this impurity from the metal. Okay? And then after that, you're not done. You still have a nasty-looking sword. You have to quench it. You have to put in the crucible of fire. You know, it's just in fire. It's been hammered. It's, you know, just totally beaten. And then after it's all that stuff, it has to be sharpened, it has to be polished for tens of thousands of hours. There's actually Japanese samurai lineage lines that hold the line for sword pounding and sword making, bladesmith making. And then you have another line that's for sword polishing. They don't make the swords, they polish the swords, and they carry that through their generations. It's a different lineage, it's a different line. But they have to work together, especially, right, Japanese folks, right? This is true. And it's like that with these young people. I tell them all the time. It's like you guys are going to be made into a beautiful samurai sword, but no, you're not now. They realize that people who train in real combat arts, they realize they suck in the beginning. They really suck. I mean, they thought they were tough. They thought they could beat everybody. They thought they were badass. They come in and they get their ashtray whooped. Then they realize, oh my goodness, wow, I'm literally trying as hard as I can, and I'm getting dominated by this skinny girl or this skinny boy. They're like, how was that possible? I thought I was badass. Right? And there is a forging. You get put in the fire and you get beaten. You get beaten and beaten and beaten. But something is being created that is becoming more and more beautiful, more and more powerful. And there's one day, I love how one guy said, he said, we're creating a sword that is being forged, but one day that sword will break. One day that sword will break. I will no longer be able to use my body. I will no longer be using my mind. I will die and I will be buried in the earth. I will perish, become dust. One day the sword that I'm creating through all this trouble and training, that God is forging me into, that sword is gonna break. But today is not that day. Today is not that day. That's incredible. That's true. That's very romantic. That's very romantic, isn't it? That's very romantic. But there's something to when God is training you. And one thing, of course, when we look at the kingdom culture, when we look at Chaniguk, we see the culture of Chaniguk and the kingdom of God is very different. It's not only making these, like North Korea, look at, did you see all those little kids have to play all these instruments and they have to do all this, they got to do all this, like, coordinated dancing. And, they tried to make a ballet where they had, like, the People's Liberation Army and the ballet. And it's like, oh my, it's ridiculous, okay? It's absurd. And they see that they're the civilization of art and culture. Look at all this beautiful art. And look, yes, China can sometimes create some of the top gymnasts in the world. They can sometimes create the top synchronized swimmers in the world. North Korea can create, obviously by forcing young children to play the kayagum, that little stringed instrument that you see the kids playing like this. They play like this. Okay, they can play to a high level. But they're forced to do it. You understand? And it doesn't create a culture of like peace, police, peace, militia. Where in the kingdom of God, that is part of your duty, your responsibility. You have to be able to defend yourself and defend your family, defend your neighbor. Because you're supposed to love your neighbor. And so in peace, police, peace, militia, it's of course governed locally, but most likely it will be a part of the education process. And by learning those things, you will not be just like somebody who's learning how to play an instrument. You will be somebody who is learning how to fight against tyranny for real. You're not going to fight tyranny with a kayagum. I tell you that much. So the real cultural shift, you can see how these tyrannical governments create this fake culture of art that is enforced upon their population. And it's this really archangelic, really twisted, really weird thing where they try to create the pinnacle of the conformist artist. At the same time, they seriously try to maintain their mafia stronghold by centralizing power, centralizing law enforcement, centralizing police, all this. It is literally, and what does that create, folks? You saw it, what it creates. It creates hell on earth. Now, True Father lived under this. He lived under this tyranny, this kind of evil. And that's why Father, even though as the Lord is saying that, yes, just like Jesus had to make that whip and beat up those money changers, Father himself had to strengthen the South Korean government and South Korean arms industry, creating the Vulcan cannon and making the air guns to get people conscious that, look, you have to be able to willing and able to stand as sovereigns. You have to be able to willing to stand up against the archangel. And that doesn't come by singing songs and doing art and gazing at wildflowers, even though we love doing that stuff. And that's beautiful. It comes by understanding the nature of the predator and understanding the nature that there are wolves out there that want to harm you, and they will harm you. And that's what these brain-dead Europeans are now starting to learn. They're starting to learn that there are civilizations that will come in, if they're unvetted, they come in, that are mutually exclusive, and they will harm you. They don't care about your values. We're praying for, of course, Korea. But again, we have to look at it from God's perspective. We don't know what's going to happen there. But even if something happens, we know providentially what the reason is. We know what the cause is. We've been warning about it for the last 4 years now. There are serious, serious consequences to providential figures falling and mishaps. Huge consequences. That doesn't mean God's providence is over. God's kingdom will come. But it creates tremendous collateral damage. And that's why the souls and the cries and the wails and the weeping and the moaning of all those who suffer because of the Han mother's curse. That's why Father says she would be the most pitiable if she leaves him. If she separates, if she betrays him, she will be the lowest in hell. Because she has chosen, folks. It's not like nobody put a gun to her and said, you have to choose to make yourself God. We told her, don't do that, for God will curse you, and anybody who does that, you get put under condemnation. And it wasn't the leadership that did it either. In the end, it was her who believed it. And now that's coming out. That's coming out. Her true belief, her true theology is coming out. And guess what? She is responsible for that. In the end, you are responsible. And in this culture where women are told you're never responsible, and you can do anything you want, you can act like a little baby and child and throw dishes and that's fine, and your husband has to take it. You are trained to be a total irresponsible baby. Right? If the man does it's bad, but the woman does it, oh, there's a reason. She didn't mean to do it. This is what we become. We become the opposite of what the feminists complain about. But this is what Western culture has become. And of course, that moral inaccountability creates demonic women. And of course, a demonic beta male class that is trying to get resources from those women and or sex from those women. But it pushes out any honorable people who are really honorable men and really honorable women. It stigmatizes, it isolates truly honorable people. And that's why it always ends up going towards political Satanism. Always, always, always. 100% guaranteed. We are witnessing literally the collapse of the world in slow motion. And that's what's so frustrating about it. You know, people really can't see it until it's so bad. And then they realize, oh my goodness, look how bad this is becoming. This is really becoming a problem now. Like Europe, like Sweden, like France, like Britain, like the UK, like what America was going to become under Hillary. Total political Satanism. In the end, empowering this type of predatory class. God's kingdom and God's day for judgment must come, folks. Why does God's judgment have to come? Look, they're mutually exclusive. You can't have him just fly in as a fairy godfather. Bring, bring, bring. He has to judge the evil because it is mutually exclusive from his nature. By his nature, he repels evil. By his nature, he judges evil in the sense that it gets pushed away from him. It cannot come in his presence. It cannot intermingle with him. So when his kingdom comes, it is hostile towards those type of political Satanist ideologies. It is. Because they are mutually exclusive. The Chinese Constitution, if you read it, if you understand political Satanism, and you read the Chinese Constitution, And if you were a political Satanist, you will be so angry. Look at that thing. It will make you so angry because any potential of you trying to exploit that and trying to rule over humanity to steal resources is gone. If you have any political mind and any political understanding, when you read the Chinese Constitution, you'll see how angry that will make centralists, globalists, bankers, central bankers, centralized governments, centralized military, centralized law enforcement, whatever it is, angry. Then you know pretty sure, when it makes everybody who is in Satan's mouth angry, you know that is a sign that that's coming from God. And is the maximum amount of freedom, and also with freedom comes responsibility to the citizen, to the individual person who has a relationship with God, from whom his rights come. His rights don't come by society. His rights don't come by agreement. His rights don't come because you got in a group and agreed upon it. No! Your rights come from God, the Creator, who is our loving Father, who gives us these rights not because we deserve it, but because He is so incredible and so loving and so good and so just. And when the kingdom people understand that and take ownership of that, stand in their place, then they stand up against political Satanism. They stand up against the actual working of Satan. And you literally become a weapon against these predators. You become an active ingredient in making world peace, in creating a real unity based on freedom and responsibility and sovereignty, territory and freedom and loving your neighbor and honoring those who came before you. Based on real culture, real civilization, real moral code, real chivalry, real kingdom. In the end, we are called by God, and that's why here with the young people, samurai means to serve, one who serves. Jesus said, all of us, we are here to serve. We're here to serve our Father. We're here to serve one another. We're here to bring God's kingdom. In that sense, a Christian is really like a samurai, isn't he? A Christian is really like a samurai. You have a master, you have a real Father who loves you. You have someone that you are serving and living and will die for. And that code of conduct, that code of ethics, and that code of living for something greater than yourself, which is truly honorable, truly virtuous, truly loving, and truly good, and not doing this worship of yourself, is the key to the civilization that presses us forward towards the kingdom. We should be praying for North Korea and South Korea and Asia and Japan and all that craziness that's happening there. Whatever happens, and many of our brothers and sisters are out there on the front line trying to fight. Whatever happens, we have to know that God has a plan. God has a plan. We have to do our utmost to prepare for His kingdom. We know that the tribulation only gets worse. We're having more and more troubles in the U.S. too. Trump is leaning more and more right Republican. It doesn't mean it's over. It just means there are now situations that are rising. So more than ever, the body of Christ has to be energized, has to be spiritual, has to move with the Holy Spirit, has to stand in righteousness, has to stand in virtue. Have to prepare the way for the kingdom. SOS, come on up. Folks, let's look at something else before we go. Look at what Father said. He said, I have secured my global domain. Providentially, the United States is the able nation and Korea, the Adam nation. Father and Son should become as one. Until now, the history of restoration was progressed through mother-son cooperation. But such an era will pass. Our brothers and sisters who are standing out there for Father and Son cooperation. They're standing with the three kingships. They're standing for able and the father nations to stand united. They're fighting against a trend. They're fighting against a huge tsunami wave. Yes, that's true. And with men, it may not be possible. But we know that with God, all things are possible. We know that God has his hand of protection on those who seek his face, those who stand with him, those who stood under his authority. And I know you're not the type of people that want to ego trip and get up on yourself. And that's why you have a problem with the Crown Providence. I know it because you're not psychopaths and you're not living your life as a narcissist for you. We understand we have to also transcend this thing of ourselves. And we have to stand in our position God gave us. Because it's not only for us. We are looking into the future of the civilization. We're looking into the future of the lineage, the future of Chanigu. So when we stand in our position correctly, and we stand as a man and woman of virtue, as humble before God, of perfect virtue, and we stand humble and surrendered and strong, but yet strong, and willing to stand for his kingdom, God can move. So I know it's not about you. I know many of you are struggling about that. But again, I just want to reiterate, it's not about you. It doesn't have to be about your thing. It's about God and God's kingdom. It's about giving the proper glory, the proper honor to his kingdom and his people whom he selected and whom he has chosen. Let's all rise and give him all the glory and praise this day as we pray for those nations and pray that God will lead us through this time with discernment, the Holy Spirit, and with knowledge and grace. Amen. Raju.
The Father's dwelling place is the fountain of our life, drawn to the light of eternal day. We abandon the darkness. May the word of God in my heart resound, so eternally to receive his love. We shall be his pride and delight, children of the living God. Into the world of Eden we gained. Let's go singing together.
The Father's dwelling place is the throne of new life. Now our resurrection is come, which we long awaited. May the word of God in my heart resound, so eternally to receive his joy. We shall be his pride and delight, children of the living God. Into the world of Eden regain. Let's go singing together.
The Father's dwelling place is eternal paradise, where the blessing he had to reserve will be freely given. May the word of God in my heart resound, so eternally to receive his praise. We shall be his pride and delight, children of the living God. Into the world of Eden we gained. Let's go dancing together.
The Father's dwelling place is the fountain of our life, eternal day, we abandon the darkness. May the word of God in my heart resound, so eternally to receive His love. We shall be His bride and delight, children of the living God. Into the world of Eden regain, let's go dancing together. May the word of God in my heart resound, so eternally to receive His love. We shall be His bride and delight, children of the living God. Into the world of Eden regained, let's go dancing together.
Praise God, everyone. We have a special guest that's going to come up and sing with us. I'd like you all to welcome up Mr. Ted O'Grady. He's a missionary to Brazil, and his family lives in England. And he will be singing It Is Well With My Soul.
When peace like a river attendeth my way, when sorrows like sea billows roll, whatever my lot, thou hast taught me to say, it is well, it is well with my soul. Though Satan should buffet, though trials should come, let this blessed assurance control, that Christ has regarded my helpless estate, and hath shed His own blood for me. With my soul, with my soul, it is well, it is well with my soul. And Lord, haste the day when the faith shall be sight, the clouds be rolled back as a scroll, the trumpet shall sound, and the Lord shall descend. Even so, it is well with my soul. It is well, with my soul. It is well, it is well with my soul. And Lord, haste the day when the faith shall be sight, the clouds be rolled back as a scroll, the trumpet shall sound, and the Lord shall descend. Even so, it is well with my soul. It is well, with my soul. It is well, it is well with my soul. It is well with my soul.
I have to say that is some encouraging news with Japan and Korea. Amen? Yeah! I mean, really! Look at the comparison of looking at North Korea, right? When people thought of or thought of voting for Hillary, they wouldn't think of a country being established like this in America, or at least over generations, right? Oh, socialist countries, oh, communist countries. Well, no, America would never be like that. Well, yeah, it could. Oh my gosh. Especially over generations of times when tyrants' descendants get even worse and even more immoral and more stupid. I mean, that is the nature of the creature, the devil. So, this is what's so beautiful for us to learn and for people to fight in Japan and Korea. This is what they're fighting against, right? For that kingdom to come. And even for us, I mean, it's so encouraging for me as an American, right? It's so easy to just get off your butt and go vote, right? Matter of fact, it's easy to get off my butt and make a video, right? So fighting off some, you know, some terrorists, right? My goodness, I don't even have a gun yet. I could easily get killed. Oh man, God bless this country. But so let's pray for our brothers and sisters in Japan and Korea, right? Let's make the most out of this to protect our rights, but also to have God's kingdom come even that much sooner.
You unravel me with a melody. You surround me with a song of deliverance from my enemies, till all my fears are gone. I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. From the Father's seed, you have chosen me. Love has called my name. I've been born again into your family. Your blood flows through my veins. I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. Child of God. I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. I am surrounded my songs of deliverance. We've been liberated from our bondage. We are the sons and the daughters. Let us sing our freedom. You split the sea so I could walk right through it. My fears are drowned in perfect love. You rescued me so I could stand and sing. I am the child of God. You split the sea so I could walk right through it. My fears are drowned in perfect love. You rescued me so I could stand and sing. I am a child of God. 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 When I'm feeling all alone, there's so far to go. The signs of nowhere on this road, guiding me home. When the night is closing in, it's falling on my skin. Oh God, will you come close? You light up the sky. You light up the sky to show me you are with me. I can't deny, no, I can't deny that you are right here with me. You open my eyes so I can see you all around me. You light up the sky. You light up the sky to show me that you are with me. And stars are hiding in the clouds. I don't feel them shining when I can't see beyond my doubts. The silver lining when I've almost reached the end. Like a flood, you're rushing in. Your love is rushing in. You light up the sky. You light up the sky to show me you are with me. I can't deny, no, I can't deny that you are right here with me. You open my eyes so I can see you all around me. You light of the bright and morning sun. To show your love, there's nothing you won't do. Light, light, light up the sky. You light up the sky to show me you are with me. I can't deny, no, I can't deny that you are right here with me. You open my eyes so I can see you all around me. You light, light, light up the sky. You light up the sky to show me you are with me. You are with me. God, you are with me.
All right, let's get some soul music going on. Come on, clapping, dancing, jumping up and down. Let's go.
There's beauty in my brokenness. Oh, I've got true love instead of pain. There's freedom though you captured me. I've got joy instead of mourning. There's beauty in my brokenness. Oh, I've got true love instead of pain. There's freedom though you captured me. I've got joy instead of mourning. 'Cause you give me joy down deep in my soul. Down deep in my soul. Down deep in my soul. 'Cause you give me joy down deep in my soul. Down deep in my soul. Down deep in my soul. 'Cause Lord, you give me joy down deep in my soul. Down deep in my soul. Down deep in my soul. There's beauty in my brokenness. I've got true love instead of pain. There's freedom though you captured me. I've got joy instead of mourning. There's beauty in my brokenness. I've got true love instead of pain. There's freedom though you captured me. I've got joy instead of mourning. You give me joy down deep in my soul. Down deep in my soul. Down deep in my soul. You give me joy down deep in my soul. Down deep in my soul. Down deep in my soul. The Lord, you give me joy down deep in my soul. Down deep in my soul.
Bless your neighbor. God bless you.